environments, enjoying the best crew ever. Whenever you would get a free moment, and that was rare, so often I had to cheat on my sleep. And I'd float up to the flight deck, and I'd just float there in front of the window, looking back at Earth. It really has an impression on you. And there's actually a term for it among space flyers. It's called the overview effect.
Yep.
Because in the window of your spacecraft, you see our home, the planet. And it looks so beautiful, such a creation in the middle of nothing. And yet, it also looks fragile. As a politician, I was struck by the fact that as we orbited the Earth every 90 minutes, I did not see political divisions.
No, QQ.
I did not see racial divisions. I did not see
Robert Engel,
religious
Charlie Bolden,
divisions.
and Bill.
I saw that we were all in this together. And this is the unique mission of NASA, because we all come together as we push the frontier, as we push out into the unknown, and we see our planet, our home, and we have a central mission to protect our planet. As a result of that experience, I became more of an environmentalist because I could see our ecosystem. Bob Cabana is here. Anyone who has flown, or you see these dramatic photos and videos, and you look at the rim of the Earth, and you can actually see the thin film of the atmosphere, and you realize that that is what sustains all of life. With the naked eye, you could see from that altitude how we're messing it up.
He said naked.
You could see the color contrast coming across Brazil and the upper Amazon region.
He said naked.
You could look to the east. There's the mouth of the Amazon. You could see the silt for hundreds of miles out into the Atlantic. Coming across Madagascar, back then, 36 years ago, they had cut down all the trees. And so when the rains came, there wasn't a topsoil. And all of that topsoil washed down the rivers. And you could clearly see that from space in the mouths of all the rivers, that silt flowing into the bright blue waters of the Indian Ocean. Because of that environmental effect.
Oh, there's Dr. Z.
I was really excited last
He's
week
the guy that runs NASA's science
to
program.
join the president in announcing a new development of a next generation of climate data systems at NASA. It's the Earth System Observatory to help us understand and track how climate change is impacting communities across the country and around the world. That meeting, held at FEMA headquarters in preparation for hurricane season, I underscored to the president how this Earth System Observatory will better help America and the world with better data to track natural hazards, including hurricanes, and be better prepared and to support our communities, families, and businesses before a disaster, not just after. The Earth System Observatory will consist of 5 integrated satellites, the first of which is scheduled to be launched in January of 23. We need these investments because storms are getting stronger and more destructive. And if we want to mitigate climate change, we've got to measure it. And that's what NASA does. NASA designs, builds, launches all of those instruments in space to give us an unprecedented understanding of the Earth. It's a 3D holistic view from the bedrock to the atmosphere. So let's learn more about this new video.
As NASA prepares to send humans to the moon and Mars, and peer even deeper into the universe, we turn with a renewed focus to our home planet of Earth. The next generation of Earth science begins with the new Earth System Observatory. The core of the observatory is an array of 5 new satellite missions that will study the atmosphere, the ground, and even what's happening underneath the surface.
These spacecraft will look at the Earth, each one of them their own way, and will integrate all the data in a common approach.
Taken together as a single observatory, we will have a complete 3-dimensional understanding of our Earth systems, how they work together, how one change can influence another. It will watch our planet change, driving solutions for better living, managing water and food resources, predicting natural hazards, coping with sea level rise in coastal communities and heat islands in our cities.
Every 10 years, the best scientists in the United States and worldwide come together and create a strategy, the decadal strategy, and it recommended that we build missions that together form an Earth System Observatory.
We're going to be looking at processes at the microphysical scale, at the large kind of convective scale, at the smaller scale in the oceans, and we're going to be investigating those, pulling that out, encapsulating that, putting that into weather models and climate models, and those are going to allow us to predict and project the future with far more confidence.
We can, from space, help farmers. We can help others that grow food around the Earth.
If there is an earthquake, we can get our models better, and from there we can predict better also in the future.
We can monitor fresh water both on the surface and underground to help water managers, both for communities as well as agriculture.
To build the observatory, we will expand our partnerships with commercial companies and international space agencies to take advantage of innovation and new technology.
We recognize, because of the global nature of the issues at hand, we want international partners to be part of that also. We're working together, and the science that we're doing has to serve all of us.
NISAR is our first major
Look at
partnership
that thing.
with the Indian Space Agency in Earth science. It brings together 2 different kinds of radar systems that together will see changes in our Earth's surface that will help us predict natural hazards in the future.
The NISAR mission will measure changes in Earth's surface less than a centimeter across.
Cool.
It will measure the movement of glaciers and ice sheets, the dynamics of earthquakes and volcanoes, and changes in farmland.
We will observe the Earth every 12 days exactly at the right repeat pass orbit. We can study small changes in the Earth system sciences.
The Earth's climate is changing. We have documented the changes that we're seeing over the last few decades. We know that it's being driven by human activities, and it's absolutely essential that we continue to understand what's happening, what's changing, in order to better predict what's going to happen and perhaps help people make better choices.
Understanding how our planet and its climate are changing is the foundation for a more resilient and sustainable future. NASA's Earth System Observatory is the next step in this ongoing mission, a mission to the only planet we can call home.
And you've just seen some of these great scientists. And I believe Dr. Z is almost as excited as I am. And that's what he's leading, and it's incredible. And what you just saw is just the tip of the iceberg. The Earth System Observatory
tip of
is
the
just
iceberg.
one of the
I see
many
what you did
missions that we have on the horizon. And I'm excited to share more about the exciting future we have in store here at NASA. But first, I want to thank you for all the work you've done over the past year. Back in March 2020, many of you packed up your computers, you went home to work from your kitchen table, your living rooms, your basements, while some of you were mission critical and you had to continue working on site under strict guidelines to keep you healthy and to keep your colleagues and your families healthy too. You did that, and I thank you for that. And despite all these hardships, it's been an amazing year for NASA. The agency has launched 10 astronauts from American rockets on American soil.
He almost said lost.
We've had all of America on the edge of their seats as Perseverance came through those 7 minutes of terror.
Godspeed, Bob and
made
Doug.
a successful landing on Mars. And since then, we've created oxygen on Mars, and we've seen Ingenuity, that little helicopter, defeat the odds, outliving its planned lifespan, and it transitioned from a tech demo to a scout. It's the first flight on another planet. And here's Jennifer Trosper out at JPL to give us a live update on Perseverance and Ingenuity.
Thank you.
They
Well,
did
it's a
helicopter.
privilege to be here to talk about the Perseverance rover mission. Today is the 101st sol on Mars for the Perseverance rover. 101 Martian days ago, Percy successfully landed on the red planet at Jezero Crater. Jezero Crater is an ancient lake bed on Mars and a great place for Perseverance to search for ancient microbial life. Now, shortly after landing, we started sending down images for the first time of the landing and from the rover's perspective. And then shortly after that, Perseverance quickly got to work on her commissioning activities. Commissioning is when we check out all the functions of the rover to make sure that during their flight to Mars and their rather dramatic landing on Mars, the functions all still work. Just 2 days ago, Perseverance finished all of her commissioning activities. During this time, she sent down over 75,000 images of our landing site. And some of those images were what I call the vacation photos of Percy and Ingenuity sitting there together on the surface of Mars, learning new things. She also deployed Ingenuity, photographed the flights, and relayed the data back to Earth.
I don't know, just
And now we are continuing with an operational demo where Ingenuity is helping Perseverance learn new things and figure out which directions to go for her science campaigns. We've recorded the sounds on Mars for the first time of the wheels interacting with the rocks, of the winds, of the helicopter flying. We've also checked out every instrument and the robotic arm and the sampling system, and the vehicle is working phenomenally well. And now, since the end of commissioning has happened, we are starting to drive south to a region called Seta. Seta is an area where we will look around and find a location that is the best place for our first sample. So it's been a very exciting 100 days, but we're looking forward to the beginning of this new science campaign. Back to you.
Well, thank you so much, and I really believe that no other organization in the world can do what this amazing team has done, and certainly not under such difficult circumstances. In the nearly 15 months since the beginning of the pandemic, you all have not only landed a rover on Mars, but also supported advancements getting us closer to launching the first crewed Artemis mission, and in just a few months, the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope, which will see the light from the first galaxies that formed in the early universe after the Big Bang. Think about that. The universe almost 13.5 billion years ago. James Webb will capture the light from about 150 million years after the Big Bang. So James Webb will be looking back 13,350,000,000 years to capture the light. And so this is just a few of the things that you all have been working on. And I'm thrilled now to have a special treat for you because it's a special guest, Captain Kirk himself, to inspire you all to boldly go into the future.
I want to congratulate Bill Nelson as NASA's new administrator. We're all delighted that he's here. Why does NASA exist? Why do we exist? Why does life exist upon this strange and lonely planet? How did we arrive, and for what reason? An age-old question, one that each of us at one time or another has asked. Each time, the universe responds with silence.
Is it just me or is this audio
NASA
garbage?
stands before that silence
Like, I know I suck at
and
it, but this is
probes
pretty bad.
that mystery. We stand with NASA in response to the incredible miracle of impossible life on an insensate world. We move back to a moon that we wish we'd never deserted. We move onward to Mars to establish a base, and then a community, and finally a miniature civilization on its enigmatic soil. We do it because NASA has realized that the universe, which extends for billions of light years in all directions, is meaningless unless what? Unless there are observers and caretakers of that stunning interstellar display. The universe demands to be noticed, to be seen, and beautifully noted. The purpose of life on Earth is to see, to know, and to tell what the cosmos has to offer. Without us, human beings, without NASA, the universe would be unseen, unknown, untouched. So NASA, in the coming years, will be chief witness, and we, as fellow observers, celebrants to the cause. Can NASA do this? Can we run tandem with NASA and live forever, or 1,000,000 years, whichever comes first? We can. We will. We must.
After a speech like that, I'm ready to go. What a wonderful tribute to all that NASA means to the world. And we do have an exciting future ahead. And as you can see on the screen behind me, we're assembling the rocket at this very minute down at the Kennedy Space Center. It'll pave the way to return American astronauts to the surface of the moon. That rocket is the Space Launch System. It will launch our Orion spacecraft and cargo on missions to lunar orbit and beyond. And soon, I mean like days, we're starting to stack that massive core stage between its two boosters in the Vehicle Assembly Building at KSC. The SLS will be the most powerful rocket in the world. 8.8 million pounds of thrust at launch.
35
All this
megameters.
means we're on our way to land the next Americans on the moon, and this time we're going to learn how to live and work on another world. America's long-term presence at the moon, both robotic and human, will help develop the experience and capabilities we need to eventually send the first astronauts to Mars. Artemis 1, the first uncrewed mission, will launch from Kennedy later this year. It will spend 26 days in retrograde lunar orbit, traveling to distances that no human-rated spacecraft has ever been. And America will also see our first robotic lander on the moon since 1968, ushering in a new era of a global science and exploration presence as more commercial moon deliveries will follow. And landing the first woman and the first person of color on the lunar surface as a part of Artemis is not a statement. It is an action. The United States must and will continue to lead the way globally, not just in exploration, but also in equity. We can be proud that all this work is good for science and humanity, and it also supports and creates good-paying American jobs. We're on track to do so many more amazing things for the country and the world, because that's what NASA does. It's just a little agency, but its value is immense. That total value is hard to quantify. You can look at all the ways it helps. STEM education, billions of dollars in partnerships with small businesses, economic impact in all 50 states, hundreds of thousands of good, high-paying jobs, incredible technology spin-offs, like in your pocket right now, the camera in your cell phone, and inspiration and investment in the workforce of the future as we educate our workforce for all these amazing things. Think of what Apollo did for a generation of scientists and engineers and mathematicians. We're going now to inspire a whole new generation of students, the Artemis generation. And that's not all. We will continue to be a catalyst for the growth of a healthy and vibrant commercial space industry, expanding opportunities in low Earth orbit and pushing further to the moon and beyond. And we will continue to develop the cutting-edge space technologies and transformative capabilities. We continue to advance aviation technologies to make our skies safer, our aircraft more sustainable, and to get you to your destination faster and safer than ever before. And we will continue to inspire and arm our workforce of the future through our STEM engagement programs. We will continue to push the boundaries of space exploration through science missions with spacecraft, telescopes, rovers, and more. And we will do all of this and more because that's what NASA does. And no one does it better.
Hi, I'm Lily, and I'm from the Exploration Ground Systems program. I'm the EGS Flow Manager, and I'm here in the VAB at Kennedy Space Center, 16 floors up. So we're currently assembling all the flight components for the Artemis 1 vehicle. Behind me, you'll see the 2 boosters that are already fully stacked, and the core stage is currently in the transfer aisle, getting ready to be lifted and mated. After that, we'll install the rest of the flight harbor components, and on top of that, we'll put the Orion vehicle, and then we'll be ready for launch. This is definitely an exciting time here at Kennedy Space Center.
This is the X-57 Maxwell. It's NASA's first all-electric piloted aircraft, and it'll pave the way for the future of electric aircraft and create certifications. NASA Armstrong's also working on remote piloted and autonomous aircraft that will help set standards for air taxi, package delivery, and our work in the national airspace.
We're sending the world's premier space science observatory, the Webb Telescope, 1 million miles from Earth to explore every phase of cosmic history. It'll study everything from the most distant observable galaxies in the early universe to planets in the habitable zones of nearby stars.
I'm standing in the Astrobiology Analytical Laboratory where samples from the OSIRIS-REx mission will be coming in 2023. This is going to be an incredible year for asteroid science. When we launch the DART mission, it will help us understand how to potentially deflect an asteroid from Earth. Our Lucy mission will study the mysterious Trojan asteroids, and the Psyche mission will head to an asteroid that might harbor the metallic core of a planetoid. We also have exciting new space communications missions and a robotic servicing mission that will refuel and relocate another satellite to extend its life, assemble an antenna, and manufacture a beam.
Cool.
I guess we do a lot of the number crunching that NASA needs in order to develop its world-class climate modeling and projections. We've got more than 20 satellites already up in orbit, and in this decade alone, we're adding another half a dozen. Here at Goddard and across NASA, you can bet that we're not going to stop innovating. We're trying to learn everything we can about this beautiful place we call home.
America has always had a frontier. At the beginning of our country, that frontier was westward.
Yeah, dude, he had the
Now that frontier is
tablet.
upward, and it's out into the cosmos. It is a part of our DNA to be explorers, adventurers. That's in our DNA as Americans. And we will continue to push the boundaries of space exploration. In 1992, NASA established a new program within its Science Mission Directorate, the Discovery Program. This program invites scientists and engineers to propose smaller, focused, planetary science missions that have the potential to achieve great things at lower cost than larger agency flagship missions. To date, NASA has launched 13 Discovery missions, like the InSight Mars lander, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, our Lucy asteroid mission, and that's scheduled for launch this fall. Lucy is just one of 3 Discovery missions NASA is planning to launch in the next 3 years. And I'm excited to break some big news today. We have 2 new Discovery missions to announce.
It ain't a Russian planet no more.
The truce of this clouded planet. Congratulations to the teams behind NASA's 2 planetary science missions, Veritas, Truth, and Da Vinci Plus. These 2 sister missions both aim to understand how Venus became an inferno-like world capable of
Yeah,
melting
geez, it's cool.
lead at the surface. They will offer the entire science community the chance to investigate a planet we haven't been to in more than 30 years. In our solar system, of the rocky planets, there's Mercury, closest to the sun. It has no atmosphere. Then there's Venus, with an incredibly dense atmosphere. Then there's Earth, with a habitable atmosphere. And then there's Mars, with an atmosphere that is just 1% of Earth's. We hope these missions will further our understanding of how Earth evolved and why it's currently habitable when others in our solar system are not. Planetary science is critical in answering key questions that we have as humans, like, are we alone? What implications beyond our solar system could these two missions have? This is really exciting stuff, and it's an emerging area of research for NASA. And so before I leave you, I want to thank you. Now, there's no doubt that NASA is the premier space agency in the world, but NASA is only as good as its people. And we're lucky to have the best of the best. I'm committed to leading NASA as our team with our soon-to-be Senate-confirmed Deputy Administrator, Colonel Pam Melroy, and Chief Financial Officer Margaret Vo Schoss, and with Associate Administrator Bob Cabana. But it's crucial that this is not a top-down agency. It's an agency where our workforce, every single one of you, is critical to the success of our missions. And I know that, and I know it from personal experience because of participating in one of the space shuttle missions. It's you on the line that make this possible. And another way of expressing that appreciation is to tell you a story that I've always heard around Kennedy. Came out of the Apollo program. There was a NASA employee, as they were developing the Space Center, that was digging a ditch. And a reporter went over to him and asked him, "What are you doing?" And he responded, "I'm helping to land a man on the moon." So I hope to hear a lot of you all over NASA, and especially on the line. And when we're able to see each other again in person, I hope you'll stop, introduce yourself, and I want to thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing for NASA, for our country, and God bless you.
What motivates me is going outside at night, looking up at the moon and thinking about how humans are going to be walking on the moon once again in the very near future.
It is a big idea, but that's what we do at NASA. I'm focused on taking those big ideas and making them into something that we can actually do and actually do on time.
We want to make sure we have really accurate measurements of Earth so that we can detect changes in climate over time. I'm thankful it's not just me working on this mission because I so value what other folks bring to the table.
By developing this aircraft, we're actually coming up with a lot of the standards that will be used to certify future electric aircraft.
NASA is leading and partnering with industries across the nation and the world, employing thousands and tens of thousands of Americans across the nation. Teamwork is the biggest thing of what has to work to do such a challenging thing as living around the moon. and we're coming together to be able to really take human space exploration to the next step.
We're bringing this American ingenuity, the collective greatness of all of the diverse minds that are in the United States on these grand challenges that we face.
Every day I go to work and I know there is a big purpose. It is high stakes, high pressure, but to be honest, that's what we do. That's what we do best.
I was a summer intern back in 2007. The experience changed my life forever. The people there were so inclusive. And I want to be able to inspire the little kids out there to be like, if he was able to do this, then I can too.
I want the largest number of students to have access. We work with schools and with students so that they see that they don't have to figure this out alone. And it's always fascinating for me when a student literally has the proverbial light bulb go off that this is something they can do.
Orbital dynamics don't slow down during a pandemic. We had to come up with ways to keep going right from the get-go. Because of all the safeguards that NASA and our team put in place, we all felt very safe still being able to develop our flight hardware on center.
I have hope that the current vaccine rollout is going to help us as we continue to vaccinate our entire population. We can come back to work in a way where we can continue to do the job that we have, understanding now that the situation has changed.
I am inspired by my colleagues, by the team members, because of the diligence that people have had in continuing to make this mission move forward.
Just some of the most phenomenal people in the world. And the things that I get to work with are just on the cutting edge.
I will say the possibilities are endless. Working at NASA is something that not even on my wildest dream I thought I was going to end up doing. And now that I'm doing it, it is the right place and the right home for me.
NASA is changing the future of spaceflight with the Artemis program. Generations to come will look back at this moment in history, and I'm just so excited to get to be a part of it.
Nice. Pegasus.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Oh, no, they cut that feed quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, I have a question. Did they ever do State of NASA before? I don't ever recall NASA doing this. Ever. I don't recall Jim doing this, and I don't recall Charlie Bolden doing it before that. Could this be a PR stunt to get the $10 billion? Well, Duber, if they wanted to get the $10 billion for HLS, they aren't doing a good job because they didn't talk about it at all. Jim did it last year? Okay. Okay, John, yeah. Okay, they did this last year? Alright. Okay, cool. I don't seem to recall this off the top of my head. Okay, I remember this. Yeah, okay, alright. like they did this year though. Yeah. The Venus mission's cool. Was hoping for something more though, like a block buy. Yeah. If I was a PR person crafting this, it was very strategically done to highlight the smaller missions, but they didn't want people to think that they forgot about the moon. I miss Jim. Maybe we got spoiled by having Jim there. I don't know. I just like I'm not. And listen very carefully, all right? I'm not one to say that all the stuff in there, in that state of NASA wasn't vital, all right? It's just having a hard time getting hyped about it, you know? I mean, that Venus mission is really cool. That's awesome. Venus lander in 2023 in a planetary science observation orbiter around Venus. That's cool. I dig that. You couldn't get hyped because you went into it not expecting to be hyped. What? I don't know, Contra. They just said that they're going to send a lander and an orbiter to Venus. I didn't say how it was going to get there. They said when, but yeah, they didn't really offer much details. I mean, I wonder if that has anything to do with the Venera D mission, because we know that NASA was looking to collaborate with the Russians on the Venera D mission and send an atmospheric vehicle to Venus. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Isn't a state of the X meeting about what is currently going on or imminent? Most of the Moon and Mars stuff is on a much longer timeline. I mean, James, I think that's hard to make that argument with him saying that we're going to go to Mars eventually. Literally during that State of the Union or State of the NASA address. I mean, how high up do you have to orbit around Venus because of the thick atmosphere? Won't it impart drag? Well, I mean, there's ways you can get around it. Ren, it has to be pretty high up. I actually don't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I'd assume it's probably a little bit higher than on Earth. So, I mean, I'm going to throw a ballpark guess out, and this is just a ballpark guess. 800 kilometers, something like that, probably is good enough. I mean, atmospheric density and atmospheric fall off are two different things. You know what I mean? They shouldn't have called it State of NASA, but an update of all NASA's non-human exploration activities. It doesn't sound nice. You okay? You seem a little tired. No. fellas, like, I don't know. Hey, Pipe, what's going on, man? The Kármán line on Venus is about 250 kilometers. So, yeah, it's a little bit higher than it is on Earth. No, it's not that I'm not... I don't know. Okay, so, all right. Where I'm at, guys, is here, right? And I understand fully that, you know... Like, here's what I want to say first. Listen up. I understand fully that science mission... Everybody has tried to poise the Science Mission Directorate and the Human Exploration Operations Mission Directorate as a binary thing. You can only choose one or the other. You can fund science, or you can fund, you know, sending people out further into space. Okay? And it's not. It's something... We can do both of those things. It's pretty easy to do both of those things. We can do both of those things. That's no problem. Anybody that tries to put it that way, like, oh, well, we have to do science, so we can't send people to the moon, or we can't do science because we have to send people to the moon, is an idiot. That's not how NASA funding works. That's not how that works in any way, shape, or form. It's not like NASA's budget, because they increased the science budget, would have gone to, you know, like, oh, you know, they're building a new climate observation constellation now. They're building a constellation of satellites now. 5 Earth observation satellites. It's not like that money would have gone to SLS, you know, had we not choose to fund science. That's not how NASA funding works. With all that being said, and I also want to make sure that it's important to understand and highlight the importance of Earth observation satellites. We have to do that. To understand our place in the universe, it's vital that we understand what's going on here. And I get that, and I understand it. It's just a hard sell, man. I understand. I get it. I know we need it. It's just hard to get excited about that stuff, dude. Like... Yeah, I can't sell that as good as I could sell going back to the moon in 2024. That's all. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. It's just a hard sell, and that sucks. And it's not like I don't think that stuff's vital, nor do I think we can't do either one of those things. But it's just a hard sell, man. It's hard to get excited about that. And I think that's kind of at odds with how I guess I view NASA. And it's just tough to get. It's just a hard sell. Like, and don't get me wrong, I understand why we need to do that. I'm not being ignorant to the issue, or even worse, being willfully ignorant to the issue. Like that, I'm not doing that. I understand it, and it's just a tough sell, man. My job is to hype up what NASA does. It's just really hard to do with that stuff. It's hard to do that. I'm excited about the Venus missions, Gumpy. That's great. Planetary science around the solar system is vital. That will help, going and studying the surface of Venus and studying the atmosphere of Venus can help us bridge that missing link to how our climate is changing and how Venus or Mars climate is. That's why it's important to go to these places. It's just the Earth observation stuff. That's just hard. It's just a hard sell. And I know it's not like this. I get it. I understand. But, I mean, they spent... That state of the NASA was about 45 minutes, and they spent a good 30 minutes of that talking about observations and talking about Earth observation stuff, and then spent maybe, 15 minutes talking about everything else. Like 30 minutes of that was talking about, Earth and the climate and all this other stuff, and that's fine, and I get it. And then, they talked about SLS for a second, and then they talked about aerospace stuff for maybe 30 seconds. And then they didn't even mention quiet SST. So that's just, what is that, not a thing anymore? And then even the Venus missions, they talked about that for less than 5 minutes, and then, nope, we're done. All right. And then, 5 minutes of freaking William Shatner, just... I don't know what to do with this. Also, genuine question: what updates do they have on SLS program other than it's in the VAB and we're working on it? HLS, Human Landing System, Gateway. They didn't even talk about Gateway or HLS. Lunar Exploration Transport Services, commercial low Earth orbit destinations, ISS replacements. Nothing. Like Axiom Space, commercial space flight that's developed from NASA's capabilities. Like nothing. They just forgot about that, huh? Like. Yeah, Ascendant, I'm with you. That's what I mean. It's just a hard sell, dude. Like, guys, I'll be honest with you. And once again, I'm not trying to knock climate science. That's not where I'm at. Like, please do not get the wrong impression. We can do both of these things. We can go to the moon and we can study Earth. It's really simple. Like, the rocket, we don't need that much bigger of a rocket to send people to the moon than we do to launch all these climate satellites constellations. I understand that. I get it. I'm not trying to say they're at odds with each other. Anybody that says that is an idiot. It's just like it's hard to sell. Like when we watch Sentinel-6 launch, Michael Freilich, when we watch the Michael Freilich satellite, which is a great oceanographic observation satellite that's up there giving NASA and the NOAA inadvertently tremendous data about, sea levels and how the oceans move around the planet, et cetera, et cetera. Which is, it's a fantastic piece of hardware, to be honest with you. The people were more excited about the Falcon 9 coming in and landing. Like, that's what I mean, man. It's a hard sell. It's just hard to sell it, man. Like, yeah, that fiasco of a freaking launch, dude. Ugh. Yeah, send it exactly, man. Exactly. That's it. You should lead with the stuff that gets people excited, like what Jim did. You look mad and disappointed. It's just Popsicle, when they do a state of NASA and they spend 30 minutes talking about one part of what NASA does, and then 15 minutes for everything else, like. It's just that's what's bothering me. Like, I'll be honest with you, that's what's pissing me off. What am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to get people excited about this? They didn't even talk about Quiet SST. They just talked about the X-57. Like, a state of the NASA is supposed to isn't like a state of NASA supposed to tell like what everything that's going on? Like, it's just. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, there's so much other stuff they could talk about. There's so many other things that they could lead with to get people more excited, to better sell what the Science Mission Directorate does. They don't. They just sat there like... Look, man... Guilt-tripping people about Earth's freaking climate is not going to get them to be excited about climate science, dude. Like, it's not how that works. That's what I'm... I don't know. Well, yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm in the space industry, and people always get excited when I tell them. Then I mention my current task is on weather, and people just lose that excitement. Yeah, how to rock. It's just a hard thing to sell. That's all. That's all I'm getting at. All right. And anybody that sit here and thinks that EJ doesn't like the climate or anything, and you know good and well that people like taking things out of context. So I'm being preemptive about it. No. What I'm trying to say is that, look, I'm pretty damn friggin' good at outreach. Okay, I'm pretty friggin' good at it. All right. I'm good at outreach when it comes to what NASA's doing and how they're operating and what they do. All right. in all facets of it. Science, rockets, engineering, aerodynamics, whatever. I can figure out a way to sell it. That's my job. That's how I make money. All right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's not what I do, right? This is for profit. Remember that, okay? With that being said, like...
Discovery, go at throttle up.
If you sit there and just say, well, our Earth is changing, the climate's changing, and we need to be responsible, blah, blah, that is not selling NASA. That is doing the opposite. Can you imagine if SLS was sold like, well, we need to get planets, we need to get people off of this planet because an asteroid could come and kill all of us. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that that's not true, that statement isn't true. But trying to sell it like that is stupid. Like, no, you say SLS is going to the moon to increase our understanding about our place in the universe. We need to understand our environment. We go to the moon to understand why we need to go out and explore. Why we need to go and understand why the moon is there so we can better understand stuff back here. We need to go to Mars to understand why Mars is the way that it is, with robots, with observation satellites, with landers, with rovers, and then eventually with people. Sample returns coming back so we can understand why the Martian regolith the way that it is. And that will feed back here to helping us understand our position here on Earth, supplemented by Earth observation satellites. I just sold it better in literally 45 seconds than they did in 45 minutes. See what I'm talking about? That's what's annoying. There's nothing I can't do anything with this. That's where I'm getting bothered. Like, that's why I'm like, okay. But you didn't have to run that by 50 people first. See, Bree, look, you say that, but Jim had no problem doing this. So what's the deal? I think the answer is Rule 8. Rule 8 is really... I don't give a crap about that, Grab Sharks. So what if they are? That means nothing to me. You can study this. You can study the climate, and you can do things on the moon at the same time. It's always been that way. Anybody that tries to phrase it as a binary thing is stupid. You know, like, that doesn't bother me. The earth science stuff doesn't bother me. We need to do that, and I understand that we need to do that, right? Like, I get it. But leading with that is not a strong selling point, man. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I got spoiled by having Jim there.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Yeah, Hellfish, man. I don't know. I can't speak to that, dude. Yeah, I mean, maybe they're trying to sway some votes, dude. That's fine. I get it. If that's what they're trying to do, I understand. More funding for NASA is not a bad thing. I don't care where it goes. Like, been very straightforward about this, you know? Like, it's just the climate is such a freaking hard, it's hard to sell that. Like, and you could sit here and you could say, well, we shouldn't have to sell it. It's something we need to do. Yes, I understand. But understand that at the exact same time, NASA's funding is tied to public perception. If you go out and you guilt trip people into saying, well, we need to do this because, you know, we have to do it because we're ruining the environment, that's not how you sell things. And, you know, like I said, you could say it doesn't matter, it's vital. And it is. But that's not how you sell this. All right? That's not how you have to sell it because NASA funding is tied to public perception, man. Everybody knows this. You don't, like, that's my thing, man. There's so many better ways to sell, to, like, show that climate science is super vital to what NASA does. It's just, that way was weak as hell, dude. And just like when, like, a journalist says something that's, you know, just like when a journalist says something that, you know, it's very clear that it's a very loose interpretation of what's going on, you know, and then I have to do cleanup and tell people what's actually going on. That NASA just did that to me. Like, Because, all right, let's be real. You know good and well that a bunch of people are going to come in here and say, does NASA care about going to the moon anymore? You know good and well that that's going to happen. I've seen like three or four people in chat already say that. See what I'm talking about? Like, oh, well, their priorities aren't with going back to the moon. Well, no, they are, because Bill said literally they're going back to the moon in 2024. And he also quoted Jim, American astronauts from American soil on American rockets, and was committed to landing in 2024. So no, it is a priority. It's just people aren't going to take it that way. It's really frigging annoying, man. It's just a hard sell, that's all. That's really where I'm at. Artemis 1 news. Okay, what's up? In a post-briefing discussion with the media, yeah, Jim streamed all the questions, man. I wish they did too. In a post-briefing discussion with the media here at HQ, Kathy Leaders, Associate Administrator for Human Exploration Operations, says Artemis 1 is still tracking for a launch at the end of November, finishing up an ongoing Artemis review and updating the dates in August. Cool. Well, that's good to know. There's lots of young people getting into climate research, but they aren't watching NASA TV. Their event was targeting a demographic that doesn't pay attention. Either it was mismanaged or the event was for politicians, not people. Well, them shooing the media out, it should be a pretty good indicator. Hey, Linux, what's up? Good video to learn about the new Venus missions. Cool. Yeah, you're guilt-tripping people into buying something is not the way you sell things. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Like, before somebody tries to, I don't want people getting up my tail about, EJ only cares about going back to the moon and not the climate. No, that's not what I'm getting at. Like, it's just, oh man, it's just like with Michael Freilich, man. Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember? You remember when we streamed the Sentinel-6 mission and they had that guy heat up a balloon? He's like, look, I'm going to heat this balloon up. The water absorbs more heat than if the balloon was filled with air. Like, that's how our climate's changing. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad example. It's just, I saw it, dude, I saw it in chat. Everyone was like, okay. Yeah. All right. The Elvis guy, that guy was cool. And that's a really good example. That's a really good way to explain it. Water can absorb stuff. It's a better conductor of energy than air is. That's why, we, like, for instance, beam electricity through a solid, like copper, rather than just beam it through the air. Unless we want, Tesla actually wanted to do that, now that I'm thinking about it. Tesla coils, man. That's actually a cool idea, but there's better ways to do it. Zonq savage. Yeah. Yeah, actually, Zonq, that's an interesting point. Yeah, right. With the first SLS mission spending 26 days in orbit, do you think we'll be able to spot the Orion when the moon is in the dark phase? No, way too far away. Way too far away, John. No way. Most people say they enjoy science until it starts to get hard and grindy, and then they stop. I guess. Is the core stage for Artemis done with refurbishment? They're getting close to finishing it, Ryan, yeah. I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'm just spoiled by Jim. Jim always led with the really cool stuff first and then talked about the climate science stuff after. And Jim, and before you say, well, that's only because he cared about that stuff, right? No. His farewell address before he resigned as the administrator was quite literally saying, you can do science and you can go to the moon. You can do both of those things, and anybody tries to phrase it any other way is an idiot. So, no, he led with the cool stuff to get people excited about NASA, because selling going back to the moon is an easier sell than a climate observation satellite. And that's what I mean. Jim knew that stuff. I don't know, man. I just think that, leading with climate is going to make people not like NASA in the long run. That's going to be detrimental. I mean, that's just a theory. I have no way to prove that. Let's be real. That's just what I think. But what do I know? I don't know. You guys think what you want. That's just my opinion, you know. I'll watch a VOD for more explanations, but in 2 minutes, what drama do we have? Nothing. So Swishio, okay. It's not really that big of a deal. I'm probably looking too much into it. I'm sorry. I really care about what NASA does. All facets of it. I don't care what it is. NASA should get more funding, and I don't give a crap what it's for. I really don't. And this is a good thing. Having an increased NASA budget is a good thing. That's a good thing. I don't give two craps if it's an Earth observation satellite constellation. I don't care if it's for SLS. I don't care if it's for a commercial crew. More funding is good. Always better. With that being said, Swishio, like my beef is that they did a state of NASA. So what's a state of NASA? What does that mean? So they borrowed it from the State of the Union, and the State of the Union is a presidential address that happens every year, kind of basically just an update where we're at, what we're up to. And Swishio, it was a 45-minute long presentation, and they spent 30 minutes talking about climate science, which is not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. They spent maybe 5 minutes talking about SLS. They spent less than that talking about aerodynamic research, and then even their two brand new Discovery missions, which are a new Discovery mission is huge. That's a new planetary probe mission, a lander and an orbiter on Venus. They talked about that less than they talked about SLS. Like, that's it. That's what I mean. Swishio, what I'm getting at is that it's a hard sell. I have no problem with Earth Sciences expanding and getting more cash. That's fine. We need to understand what we're doing here. It's just that's a hard sell, and people need to see the bigger picture. They need to see what's like the whole deal here. You know, Earth science it couples with planetary science, which couples with these flagship missions, which couples with sending stuff into deep space, which couples with sending people into deep space, right? Like, all of it works together. But selling one thing over the other, particularly climate science, because it's hard to sell it. It's hard to get excited about that, is not going to get people excited about NASA. It's going to get people annoyed. Because you can't guilt trip somebody into buying something. And because public perception is so deeply tied to NASA's funding, I'm worried that if they keep doing that, it could be detrimental in the long run. And before you say, oh, EJ, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, that's exactly what happened in 2011. Yeah, that's exactly what happened in 2011. Yeah. How many people still go about saying, oh, is NASA still shut down? Is NASA still shut down? Do they do anything at NASA anymore? See what I'm talking about? Look, man, there's a social component here that is directly tied to NASA's funding that you have to take into account. It's very, very, very important. And I didn't like that. I'll be honest. I didn't like that at all. Yeah, Bill, you asked a normal person on the street 5 years ago. They say, hey, have you heard what NASA's doing? Oh, they still exist? I thought they got rid of them after they stopped doing the space shuttle. See what I'm talking about? That's not good, man. That's not a good way to get NASA more funding. Has the output of videos from NASA started to slow?
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Yeah. I don't know, Tom. Yeah, it's a political agency. I get it. And
Discovery,
I don't know. I just don't ever want to play the Rule 8 card when it comes to NASA, because NASA's about science, all right? And I get it. There are political overtones. I understand that. But man, dude, like, you want more money, man. Use your strong suit. You have a rocket that is enough. That is enough to put an Abrams tank into low Earth orbit, ready to go. Lead with the strong stuff so you could sell the other things, man. It's like, this is selling 101, and man, it's selling 101. And before you say, well, what do you know about selling, dude? I worked in sales. I've worked in plenty of retails. I've worked in complex sales. I've worked with upselling. I have a lot of retail experience under my belt. The climate science is the upsell. That's not what you lead with. You know what I mean? You don't, if you're selling a TV at Best Buy, you don't start with protection plans, man. Oh, how much is this TV? Well, this TV comes with a 2-year protection plan. All right. What? You don't go into a car dealership and say, "Hey, what can you tell me about this car?" "Oh, well, this car has a 50,000 mile limited warranty." All right. What kind of car is it? You lead with the strong stuff, right? Well, this car has a big V8 engine in it, or this car has 2 electric motors in it. You know what I mean? That you lead with the strong stuff, and the other stuff, it's not that the extended warranty isn't pertinent to the sale. It's very important. That's a selling point for some people, but people need to know what the heck they're getting into first. You know what I mean? It's a 50,000 mile limited warranty. I'll take it, but it has no engine. You have to use your feet like the Flintstones mobile. Oh, what? Like, that's all. Like, you lead with the strong stuff, and you can get more funding across the board, man. That's why I like Jim so much, because he didn't have a problem doing that. We led with NASA's strong stuff. Public doesn't understand how NASA functions or what they do. Exactly, Prey. It's a social component. So it's hard to sell Earth science like that because there's a social component involved. My family constantly asks me, is SpaceX better than NASA? Can't sell complex science missions with extremely long-term returns to a general public that doesn't even understand how their tax funds are being used to launch them. That's the exact point that I'm trying to make, Prey. Look, the average person doesn't understand what all the other stuff that NASA does. You got to lead with the strong stuff in order to get people on board with this. You have to have a hook. That hook, believe it or not, is SLS. The hook is the human landing system. The hook is commercial crew, the ISS. Like, that's what you got to lead with, because people see SpaceX landing all these rockets, and they see that, and all Bill has to say is, look, we're on our way to having a robust and healthy commercial low Earth orbit because of NASA funds. This is what your money's getting you. See what I'm talking about? And that can help us that Falcon 9 that we paid to engineer that moves people to the ISS, that could move people to the moon, or the Starship that moves people to the moon one day, that rocket can easily be repurposed to build an Earth science constellation. See what I'm talking about? There's much better ways to sell this. Like, that's where I'm at, dude. I didn't like that. I didn't like that meeting at all. That wasn't good. Like that was not. I didn't like it, and I'm not trying to bark up Bill's tree either. He's just one dude, but yeah, sell me this pen. Yeah, exactly, Jackal. It's a good movie. Think of the kids, Swishio. That's not the way you sell things. You don't walk into a car dealership and say, I need a car that has a lot of space to move stuff around. Well, you want the car that has the biggest space. Think of the kids. That's not how selling works. And, as screwed up as it is, because Earth science is super, super, super important, we have to do it. You have to find a way to sell it. That's, like I said, that's why I like Jim so much. But once again, it took a while for Jim to win me over. Okay, so let's just, let's not go freaking full Twitter outrage about this thus far. It's just, I don't like that, man. That's not a good way to sell that. And that could be detrimental in the long run. Let's just hope they don't keep doing it. Yeah, Zonku, exactly. The average guy doesn't give a crap. He doesn't give a crap about other sciences. So you got to find another way to sell it. Because if you don't, then the average Joe is like, why do I care about the climate, right? You've heard this argument. You've heard people make this argument all the freaking time. Why do I care? Doesn't affect me. I don't live near the ocean. Not my problem, right? That's not how you get these people to get excited about NASA. Not how that works. Very bad idea. Yeah, hellfish, and I'm pretty damn good at recognizing patterns, huh? I don't know. Those Venus missions are cool. I wish they spent 30 minutes talking about those. That would have been nice. So what the heck is Space Force's primary role? Neo, the Space Force is the 6th branch of the United States military, but if you really want me to sum up in one sentence what the Space Force actually is, Space FAA. Yeah, Space FAA. That's all. That's all it is. I firmly believe the only way to get the Space Force on the books is to bill it as a defense. Bill it as defense. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened. The space shuttle was the space shuttle got on the books for the exact same reason, because they billed it as national security, because the Air Force needs to use it to launch their satellites, right? This wouldn't be the first time this behavior has happened, right? Like, people have done this. People have, people have roped programs that are civil in nature under defense. National Highway Act is a very Eisenhower. The 1955 National Highway Act was billed into the defense budget to build our national highway system so the military could have better mobility around the country in the event of an attack. That was the highway system. A piece of civil infrastructure, highways, was built under the defense, under defense, right? They put the Space Force was done the same way. They made another branch of the armed forces so they could get the funding that they needed to basically be Space FAA. Monitor debris, space situational awareness, and space debris management. That's what the Space Force does. It's like a Coast Guard for space, minus the guns. Billing it as defense, even if space must not be militarized. They're not militarizing space, Swishio. It's not militarizing space. People think Space Force and they think we're going to have, like, Star Trek or not Star Trek, like Battlestar Galactica or something. That's not what's going on here. Yeah, that's not what this is. The Space Force is basically in charge of the testing range, launch operations that go out of the Eastern, Western, and Pacific testing range, space debris management, and space situational awareness. That's the founding doctrine there. It was established under Space Policy Directive 3 in 2017. I want ODSTs. Well, there's this thing, Spank. Storing munitions or armament for conventional warfare in space is a gross violation of the 67 Space Treaty. You guys got to understand that when they first touted Space Force and they build space as an expanding theater of war, right? They build it as an expanding theater of war. It's not like we're going to go up there and do what the second season of For All Mankind did. It's not that. You got to understand that how spaceflight, how war, I use this term very loosely, how war works in space isn't an anti-satellite missile going and blowing up a satellite. Everybody knows what that'll do. Nobody wants to do that. War in space is going up to your buddy's satellite without being detected and going boop and pushing the satellite out of its orbit. That's how war in space is, if you really want to know. That's how it's done. No guns. You don't need guns. Guns are a waste of time. That's over-engineering. You just need a spacecraft that goes up near it, boops the satellite out of the way, or like the show clips its solar panels. That's how that's going to happen, if that ever does happen. It's not guns or tanks or battleships in space. I mean, as much as I want to see Space Battleship Yamato, as much as the next guy, like that's not how this works. Hi, Pick. What's going on? RG, how you doing? See last. Okay. Not space related, but you need to watch this. Okay, great. What is this? I'll check that out in a little bit later, W. Phil, I still wanted the Trident Neptune mission to be selected. Which ones would you want? I don't know the pool off the top of my head, Phil. I don't mind going to Venus. Venus is a good idea. I think that studying Venus's atmosphere and studying Venus's climate is super important to understanding our climate here. Because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand all the climate science. I understand what's going on enough to know that it's an issue. However, from what I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, from what I understand, Venus is a possible end goal of what happens if man-made climate change keeps going unabated, right? Or if we knock the climate out of control too much, you could have a cascading effect, like Kessler syndrome, only down here. And just because you don't see it happening in real time doesn't mean it isn't. You know what I mean? But if Venus is one of those possible end goals of how rapid climate change can mess with things, I think it would be important to go and study it as a control. That's very, very important. Can you imagine the Kessler from Wharf 359? What's that? What? Here's the 4 if you want to look at them. Let's take a look. In fact, Phil, I think that's the reason why they chose Venus, to understand the climate science on Venus. But from what I understand, also Mars could be an end goal for how Earth ends up if we let the climate fall out of symbiosis, or we lack to achieve symbiosis with the environment to keep it on an even keel. He means War 359, Star Trek battle with the Borg and TNG. Wolf 359? Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's supposed to be Wolf 359 when the Borg engaged Federation forces and trounced them. You know, Hellfish, I've often thought about that. Do you remember that TNG episode in like season 2 or season 3 where Q comes along and Q, everybody's like, oh, you're such a jerk, you're such a jerk. And Q's like, oh, fine, I'm going to put you in front of a Borg cube. Remember that episode? And they're like, oh, who are these people? We don't know that. Q literally warned the Federation about the Borg. He literally saved humanity. Just a fan theory. Just saying. Hey, Treehugger, what's up, man? Yeah, he warned Starfleet, or else they would have been obliterated by the Borg if they showed up. Like out of nowhere. I think so, Hellfish. That was the first episode of the series, was it? No, the first episode of TNG was Encounter at Farpoint. It was a 2-part episode. It was pretty good. That's not a theory, it's a fact. He's been testing and helping humans for years, as showed in Voyager. Yeah, okay. Well, I haven't watched Voyager in a long time. But yeah, I don't know why I remember the TNG episodes more than I remember Voyager. I've watched all of them. I only know Star Wars. Well, Spank Tank, how much do you know Star Wars? Because I know that too. Have you read the expanded universe about what happens in the Star Wars galaxy after all the movies take place? Are you familiar with the Yuzhang Vong? Because TNG was better than Voyager? Nah, that's debatable. They're both good in their own right. How do you feel about Deep Space Nine? It's alright. You mean the EU that's not canon anymore? You know what, Cirrus? In this day and age, it seems like we very much can just reject reality and substitute our own, in the words of Adam. Yeah, I reject Disney's, even though they own the intellectual property of Star Wars, I reject their reality. The EU still exists, and their movies don't, in my mind. Except for Mando. Mando's good. And Rogue One. Man, you're up looking sharp. Average words a minute at 467. I'm trying, man. There's a hilarious episode of Voyager where Q's kid screws up and teleports the Borg aboard. Q pops up and tells them, don't provoke the Borg. Doesn't matter anymore. Zonku, it ain't canon for me. I like Rogue One. I like Mando. Believe it or not, I'll even give some leeway to Solo. It was pretty good. You could tell that Ron Howard kind of had to come in there and fix a lot of things, but still a decent enough flick. The 7, 8, and 9 though, no. That's not lore. The expanded universe is lore. Yeah. It's fan fiction, Hans. Yeah, exactly. Because Disney was a fan of Star Wars, and that's why they bought the IP. Yeah, absolutely. It's like the Netflix adaptation of Star Wars. It's just like, okay. Will the Venus mission be launched on an Atlas? I don't know, Velo. Yeah, they didn't see, Velo, that's the other thing. They didn't give me much to go off of, dude. There's that new Venus flick, and maybe we should watch that. That's just like your opinion, man. Blue Abyss plans to build the world's deepest pool in Cornwall? What's that, drummer? Privately funded Blue Abyss is in the process of applying for a planned permit which would occupy a 10-acre site. It's a 40-meter by 50-meter pool holding enough water to fill 17 elliptic-sized swimming pools. Literally has deepest pool in the headline. Doesn't tell you how deep it is. Good job, BBC. Seriously. The headline of this article, drummer, is world's deepest pool. Did I miss where they talk about the depth? Am I
Discovery,
stupid?
go at throttle up.
Ah, it's right in the first headline. Okay, cool. I was going to say, BBC, really? Please. Please now. Okay, cool. All right. I got a little concerned there for a second. I was like scrolling down here and I'm like, okay, how deep is it? How deep? Oh, there's a measurement right there. Okay. No, it looks like they're building a neutral buoyancy lab, which is cool. I just don't understand why there's an ESA logo in here. Signer 16-month resub. Too soon? Too soon. Too soon. There's a scuttlebutt of a Fast and Furious Jurassic Park crossover because Universal is desperate to have anything that compares to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Fast and Furious Jurassic Park crossover? You know what? Maybe, you know, Azanku, I'll be honest. You know how I feel about people throwing their hat into the ring when they don't know what they're talking about, right? I'm like, okay, maybe you should maybe you should learn, all right? However, with that being said, you could just do this thing, like, come up with something original. We seem to have no problem doing that for almost 100 years. Why are we rehashing everything now? Like, forgive me, and I'm not trying to say like I could run a movie studio better, right? Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something here that I'm not taking into account. But it certainly seems like y'all are running out of ideas real quick. Have you seen some of the F1 2021 gameplay? No, I haven't. I live my life a quarter pounder at a time, Grab Shark. For those 10 bites or less, nothing else matters. Not my house, stocks, not my team and all their hunger. For those 10 bites or less, I'm free. Like, can we, like, is it that difficult to sell a new franchise nowadays? It must be. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Sometimes stuff's a little more apparent than we let it on to be. Everybody doesn't. I've heard people really get sick of remakes and sequels to old movies, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why they're doing them, and that reason is because they sell and they're easy to make. It must be difficult to establish a new franchise nowadays. That's the truth of the matter. But then again, the flip side of that argument is, you know, people can't be bothered with actually putting effort in. It's just more quick buck bull crap. But then again, there are popcorn flicks in the movies for a reason. Not too difficult, too risky. Too risky. You know, it's... So, Hazanku, it's risk aversion. It's risk aversion because nobody wants to up the stakes. You start a new franchise, you put some effort in, you know, you time it right with good advertising, you know, then you're good. But it sounds like nobody wants to take that risk. Which, it's just Fast and the Furious Jurassic Park crossover. Okay. Yeah, that's another movie I won't be watching. Yeah, it could be better than Schindler's List. I don't care. It could be better than Shawshank. It could be better than Godfather Part 2. Still not watching. F1 2021 changed the tire and damage models to make it realistic. Cool. Here's the proposal of the new NASCAR street course in Chicago. What is this, Bandit? I agree, Jackal. Yeah. Can you give us a track layout, or... Oh my god. Oh my god. Sure. Have fun with that, man. Have fun with that. Man, I'm sure it's going to be a great race. It's just they don't get it. They don't get it, do they? They really don't. They really don't get it. I thought they did. Dude. Why don't they race like, I don't know, let's see. You have all these road courses. All these road courses you could race. All of it, and that's the one. That's you. Oh, no, guys, we got this one. That's it. I want Meigs Field back. Yeah, of course. Don't we all? These cars can prove that they can race on Coda. Why don't they race Belle Isle? Like, Belle Isle's a great track. Like, you have this impeccably good road course that's, you know, a couple 100 miles away from that in Detroit, you know, Motor City. But no. Ando, they just raced Coda last week, and they're racing Sonoma this week. Like, do you want to see Sonoma? Look. NASCAR's been racing this track for years. It's a great track. It's really good. A lot of elevation changes up here. A lot. Like, turn 1 to turn 3 is like about 100 meters. Yeah. You go up a hill here, and then you go down a hill, and then you go up a hill again, and then you go down a hill, and then all this is downhill off camber. Then you go up a hill, and then down a hill to the left. It's cool, man. It's a great track. Why is Chicago street circuit? I don't understand. Like, you got Belle Isle right there. Why don't they race Belle Isle? This is a great track. Isn't NASCAR cars racing in an oval? Well, Swishio, that's what everybody thinks it is. NASCAR has always raced street circuits, man. For a long time. NASCAR is not just ovals. It can be on anything. They race regular left and right hand turn circuits. It's just they race So Swishio, okay, first of all, Swishio, Stradella Repubblica. First of all, and second of all, you know how Tilke with Formula One made a bunch of tracks that are very cookie cutter, they're very similar, and they did that so Formula One could just put on a really nice event, and that's it. But the races are terrible. They did the same thing with NASCAR in the 90s into the 2000s. They replaced all these great circuits, road courses, not super speedways. All the super speedways are still on the circuit because I want to go fast and turn left, brother. They replaced all of them with 1.5-mile tracks. And don't get me wrong, there are some good 1.5 miles. I like Phoenix. I like Charlotte. Those are good tracks. But a lot of cookie cutter circuits. Literally the same circuit all over the U.S. so they could pedal the same event over and over and over and over and over again. The problem is that, coupled with different regulations to the car that they rolled out in 2007, literally ruined the sport. Yeah. NASCAR used to race road courses all the time. Oh, yeah. Road courses. Freaking, they had road courses. They had short tracks, mile short tracks, which is the heritage of the sport. That's NASCAR is from it stems from dirt racing, which stems from bootleggers during Prohibition, wanting to have cars that go faster than the police, and then they started racing each other. That's the roots of the sport, short track and dirt racing. That's why they raced on dirt this year. But, they started racing all these courses that are the exact same, and they produced terrible racing results coupled with terrible car regulations. It's like Mercedes with Formula One. It's just, all right, is anybody going to try? Or see, man, I like Martinsville, Dover, North Wilkesboro, Bristol. Those are great short track. Short track racing, you wouldn't think it would be fun, but short track racing is fun, dude. It's really cool. I also think you're just grumpy today. Remo, that presentation sucked. I'm just gonna go out right and say it. That presentation sucked. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was terrible. They should be ashamed. It's bad. All it's gonna do is make people hate NASA more. Like, I'm just gonna call it like it is. It was terrible. Yeah. Sorry. I don't mean to burst your bubble. It was crap. And I am grumpy because of it. All right? You're absolutely right. And now I've told you the reason. There you go. It's true. It was terrible. Just all right. That goes over here. Seriously though, 1.5-mile circuits suck. Like, that's not just EJ being grumpy, Brimo, I swear. The 1.5-mile circuits are terrible. They're boring. Nobody passes each other. It's like watching a Formula One race. But the thing is, if I wanted to watch a Formula One race, I'd watch Formula One, which I do. I don't need to go watch NASCAR, which is a totally different sport, and get the same type of racing as I do with Formula One, where it's centered around pit strategy. That's lame. No, Bandit, not all of them. I like Phoenix and Charlotte, great 1.5 miles. Fontana's okay, but they're going to ruin that, so it's all right. How's the SSTO build coming along? Good. It's coming along just fine. We'll jump into it probably at the top of the hour here, Jim. I know what would cheer you up. The new Big Chungus SSTO working on the first try. Yeah. Phoenix is short track? Phoenix isn't... I thought Phoenix is 1.5 miles. Oh no, it's a 1 mile. I like Phoenix for what it's worth. It's a good track. I don't like 1.5 miles, Bandit. They produce terrible racing. I mean, look, I know I just said I like Charlotte in the same sentence, dude, but the Coca-Cola 600 sucked. I fell asleep. I'm not even kidding. I fell asleep. I fell asleep at 9 at night. Me falling asleep at 9 at night would be like a regular person who goes to bed at like 10 p.m. falling asleep at 5. Yeah, I fell asleep. It's so boring to watch. Pre-reconfiguration Texas was good. Texas needs a super speedway, man. I don't know why they made that 1.5 miles. Why would you do that? Everything's bigger in Texas, so we're going to build a smaller track. Okay. Adults need nappies. Forlorn, I don't sleep at 9 o'clock. I haven't gone to bed at 9 o'clock in a decade. Yeah, that's right, Elfish. Yeah, I remember that. At least we have Coda. Coda was awesome. That race was so good. It was so fun watching those cars slide around that track. All right. Anyway. Da Vinci, deep atmosphere. These were the options for those missions. For the missions that NASA wanted to, for the Discovery missions. They chose Veritas over here. Veritas, which means truth. Veritas will map Venus's surface to determine the planet's geological history and understand why Venus developed so differently than Earth. Sorry. You do that too well? Sorry. It's still a bit too Bill Clinton. Yeah, you need a little more. We need to sprinkle on a little bit more Southern draw. Now do it as Jim. I can't talk like Jim because Jim talks like a normal person. It's really hard to do impressions of people that talk like this. You have to have some kind of inflection or accent to really mimic how someone talks, to really get the accent down right. Your Dr. Z is on point. Yes, I do a very good impression of Dr. Z. Well, I tell you what, Bill, I am very, very happy about these new science missions. We're going to send things to Venus, and we're going to conduct all the science on the surface, and that's something that I'm very, very happy and very excited to be a part of. Also, could possibly be Gunther Steiner. Now have a conversation between Bill and Dr. Z. I can't do it, man. I'll laugh. Unfortunately, the Venus mission choices feed into the... Ando, that's fine, dude. I want to be very clear. Like, I'm not trying to turn this into, oh, EJ hates climate science. That's not what's going on here. I just think it was a bad way to sell that. We should map Venus. We should send people on a Venus flyby like what they wanted to do with Apollo. Better understand what's going on over there. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. We're good. I'm totally good on that. What was the issue with Ingenuity being unstable and wobbly? Software. A little bit of a software malfunction, Elijah. They fixed it, though. They fixed it. Switch between Bill and Jim. Mason, I can duplicate how Jim's like the pacing and stuff, but I can't mimic how Jim talks. I always put too much nasally voice into it. I want to be crystal clear. You know, we're going to send American astronauts on American rockets from American soil for the first time since the space shuttle stopped flying in 2011. It doesn't sound right. I can't emulate somebody that has a normal voice. I can get the pacing and the inflection right, but the tone is wrong. Yeah, I can see why Trident, why we would have wanted Trident. Yeah. It's like drawing a character. You need something identifiable. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Now, Brimo. I can't make Brimo's voice come out of my mouth. I can't do that. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Please don't try. Sweetheart, it's very difficult to emulate people with normal voices. You do say AutoZone instead of AutoZone, which I think is kind of funny, but that's about it. I'll help you learn how. Yeah, but Forlorn, that's copious amounts of vocal exercise. I know that's what you're all about. Like, I don't know if my voice can make that noise. Can you emulate real world EJ? How I talk in real life? It's the first step on the path to Pride Month. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I know my vocal range pretty dang
Discovery,
well.
go and throttle up.
And that's not part of it. How I talk in real life. I mean, it's not that far off from streaming voice, but streaming voice is I talk very, the pacing with the streaming voice is very clear and very crisp. This is how I talk like this to get the point across. How I talk in real life is more like this. It's not soft spoken by any means, but it's more like this. I guess, if that makes any sense. Yeah, exactly. It's like public speaking, Elijah. But yeah, how I talk regularly is more like this. Yeah, more. It's not nearly as soft spoken. You're a little too close. Oh, you like it. Don't lie. Yeah, it's more like the truck stream. Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. Your cousin from Boston. Read last. What's up, Jackal? 1.5s used to be good with the multi-groove racing and car control relating to NASCAR. Yeah, I'll give you that one. When's KSP? In a second. What about removing the stream max? I can't do that, Nuclear. If I try to do it, it'll sound forced. I don't know. And I have pretty good command over my voice. I literally can't do that. Every time I try to do it, I end up sounding like I'm in The Departed or something, which is funny because everybody in The Departed, forces the Boston accent and has a really thick accent, and they also combine the North Shore and the South Shore accents together because they didn't ever have this kind of accent in real life. Because it's funny because Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are from Cambridge. Right? They're from Cambridge. They don't have accents there. Everybody talks normally like this there. You really want to get into this accent, you got to go out past 128, out to 495. You go out all the way to Worcester, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. See, I can't do it. It always sounds forced. It doesn't sound right. Yeah, Dread, that's exactly right. I talk a lot with my hands because of my Italian background. Yeah, that makes my hands help convey exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, Discord's being patchy right now, drummer. Da Vinci is cool. Yeah, I like those Venus missions. I wish they talked about them more. The Triton one is pretty cool. The launch window for Trident is pretty rare, once every 13 years. So I guess 2039, here we come. Yeah. I mean, Phil, if I had my way, all these missions would get funded. Imagine being selective about learning about our solar system. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, Discord is having a bit of a moment with the connection. If you think about it, you can get Discord right on your phone, and your phone is your phone because of NASA. I don't do it to mock Bill. I'm dead serious. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Like, just so we're very clear on that one. A little bit of Nick Cage slipping through there. Well, that's really high praise, I'll tell you. I'm glad we got 2 missions out of the 4, but the Trident mission would have been real nice. Yeah, I agree. Yep. That sounds like a different bill. Yeah, I gotta take. It needs to be more Florida than Arkansas. Yeah, I mean, Phil, like I said, if I had my way, all these missions would get funded. And then Constellation would have probably gotten funded too. Like, that's what we got to be careful about here. You know, anyone that says you can only do this, blah, 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 it's not in the budget, they're full of crap. It's all about how you sell it. How you sell it is everything. How they sold Constellation is the reason Constellation got on the books. All right? How they sold the space shuttle was the reason the space shuttle happened. How they sold Apollo, the space race, was the reason that it happened. How Kennedy sold it. You want to hear freaking old school Boston accent? We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. And the others.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Jack, once again, that's the same logic fallacy that I'm talking about. You can give the military $700 billion, you can't slide an extra $2 billion in NASA to fund all 4. That's not how this works, man. It's not about competition between that. Anybody that says that is an idiot. The only types of people that say that stuff, Jack, are the people that aren't smart enough to get what they want on the budget. I'm dead serious about that. That's something I'm learning. As I study more and more space policy, it's not about whether you can or can't do it. It's not about whether we have the money or not to do it, all right? It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with how it's sold. Any poli-sci people want to weigh in on this? My name is Bossifus, 4-month resub. I missed the Wario edition. What's that from? That's Elon Musk from Saturday Night Live, Bossifus. Who knows? Maybe they will make Trident a flagship mission. OSIRIS-REx was originally a Discovery mission, and when it lost, NASA made it a New Frontiers mission. Yeah. Anyway. It's the top of the hour, guys. SSDO time? SSDO time? Posturing is everything in budgeting. Wow, poli-sci majors finally getting a small use for their degree. Yeah, right? Looking to see what else. Okay. All right, Elijah. See you later. Thanks for watching. All right. Let's work on that aeroshell today, dudes. Let's do it.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
I think this is mission mode part 157. We'll go from there. Hey, Wolfpack, 45-month resub. Thank you. How you doing, buddy? Hackerman, I'm in. Been staying up for it? Cool. I love roasting poli-sci people. Ooh. I think if you wanted to get into political science, to be honest, Brian, wouldn't a law degree make more sense? On the side note, an XR4 Ti 2.3 or an XR4i 2.9 V6 4-wheel drive. XR4 Ti, dude. But it's only single overhead cam, but still, that's still cool. I am the law. I need to ask Madford. Mick will tell you the 2.3. The Lima V6 isn't bad, Neo. It's just, it's a V6. I don't like V6s, to be honest with you. I think